average age based on Clarkson's information currently is 12.5 years. 33% or one-third of these vessels are above 15 years. Bulk carriers, tankers and container vessels typically get scrapped by the time they reach age of 25. This figure becomes close to 90% when the age becomes 35. So even if we don't consider the legislative influences, and the red portion of the graph shows that the vessels which are built prior to 2014 may have a lot of challenges in meeting stringent environmental legislations like CII and Energy Trading Scheme implemented by European Union. So it's very clear that it may not be even double, it can be more than that. The number of ships which will come for demolition by 2030. Having said that, the amount of scrap as per as requirement of International Steel Association required currently is 18,000 million tons, and the total scrap which is being generated is just about 400 million tons. So I hope our ship owners don't mind, but so many ships coming for recycling, is it such a bad thing? After all, from steel industry and environmental point of view. Let me talk something about innovation and technology. Let me start with the life cycle of a ship. Ship is designed and built in a shipyard. Now, Lloyd Register has for more than a decade suggested that if you want an efficient recycling, thinking has to start at the time of shipbuilding. You have to design a ship for recycling. The accommodation can be built in a block form so that it can be easily lifted. We, as suggested by our colleagues from the industry, we need not have too many hazardous material in the ship itself to begin with. Add to that, when everybody is talking about circular economy, right time to speak about circular economy is at the time of shipbuilding. There are new concepts coming, technology innovations are there. Why can't we have a material passport on the vessel itself at the time of shipbuilding, which identifies the material and then we can easily trace that material going forward. So a lot of technological advancements are possible and some of them are actually happening, like inventory of hazardous material at the time of new building itself. Going forward, ship owners, and as this is the requirement of many people don't understand, there are a lot of requirements for ship owners as well for which Hong Kong Convention puts them into. Ship owners have to maintain inventory of hazardous material, and I agree with my colleagues here that yes, ship owners should provide right kind of inventory of hazardous material to recyclers. Add to that, those people who are practically involved in recycling understand how difficult it is to clean fuel oil tanks and oil tanks in the ship. Why can't we have designs like vacuum systems or tank cleaning systems for fuel oil tanks so that the entry which is there to be made in the fuel oil tank and cutting becomes safe for the workers. Going forward, there are new technologies of cutting which are coming in where we can use high pressure water jets for cutting, and we can cut from outside, not from inside, reducing environmental impacts drastically. One thing really good what is happening, and probably we were also taking initiative in that direction when we started working in around early 2000 in previous decade, was bring elements of shipbuilding and ship recycling. Why can't we cut everything in impermeable surfaces, which is happening now? We need bigger cranes, we need crane barges, we need balloons to move ship forward, we need bigger winches. We need the amount of ships which are going to come in this decade, we need to have new infrastructure projects. We need to have hybrid facilities which has shipbuilding, ship recycling, ship repair together. Because these these industries are fluctuating. So something will do good and something may not do good. There are immense possibilities going ahead. Right at the end, ship recycling has just scratching the surface of digitization. Material passport, using equipments to identify segregation of material. There are equipments available to support that. Training of workforce, monitoring live ship recycling. Some of the facilities are providing that, so that ship owners sitting in Europe or anywhere in the world, Japan, knows how their ship is being cut. There is no lack of trust anywhere. These technologies, some of them are coming and some of them need to come. Some shipping companies and container manufacturers have joined initiatives like Steel Zero. LR is working for a long time on technologies related to green steel. Definitely there are demand for green steel. As mentioned earlier, there are two big or maybe three big challenges. One is the traceability of material. Yes, in Alang and in many locations, we are using steel in a very economical way. But we must remember, we should not do short cycling. Essentially, short cycling means that we should not downgrade the grade of steel. We should not reduce the value of steel. Why should recyclers get less value for steel of a higher grade? They should get a better rate for the steel. A ship steel generally is a high grade steel. We should not short cycle that. So, material passport or any something like we have inventory of hazardous material, we have similar things to identify materials going forward to increase value of the product. Second challenge is segregation at the site. How well are we segregating material? Yes, all of ship is made up of steel, but there are various grades in various locations. And no metallurgist would like things getting mixed up. So these are the areas we need to work on. And our materials department in LR has been working diligently on these lines. As an Indian coming to India, to double the output, there are some upgradation required in our current infrastructure. Let me quickly close the session. Probably being emotional, I have exceeded the time limit. There is a need to improve on the current infrastructure and build new infrastructure to take bigger vessels. The current infrastructure may not be efficiently able to recycle big ships. There is, and as our colleague in GMIS suggested, that there is a need to invest on and upgrade the current TSDF site. And this I am saying as an Indian, not as a representative of LR. Why can't we have optional standard which goes beyond EUSRR? We can be the first country to develop a standard which has a recycling standard which has circular economy in it. Let's go above and beyond regulations. Thank you everyone.
Mr. Facilitator. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow panelists. I'm very grateful to the Ministry and to the organizers of GMIS to give me an opportunity to talk to you today. Maybe dispel some misunderstandings with regards to the ship recycling regulation. First, I would like to start with a disclaimer that I'm just the global spokesperson. These slides were prepared with my colleague Christelle Rousseau in the DG Environment of the European Commission in Brussels, and she's the real expert. So if there are questions that you may want to address the real EU expert that will be here more than I, and nonetheless I'm happy to stay in touch if you have questions after this presentation. The first thing I would like to address is the scope of the EU ship recycling regulation, and we named it the Hong Kong Convention because it's not a competing standard. It is how the EU decided to transpose the Hong Kong Convention into its own legislation. It's important to emphasize that EU flag ships going for dismantling needs to be compliant with this regulation. Also, all the European ships and third-country ships that are stopping in ports are required to have this AH that was already mentioned. The most important part here is that in order for new flag vessels to be dismantled into a ship recycling facility, it needs to comply with all the requirements of the Convention, which are considered as minimum requirements, and also with additional provisions, mostly contained in Articles 13 and 15 of the same regulation. Here I really need to emphasize that the Hong Kong Convention itself acknowledges that the parties, individually or jointly, can adopt more stringent requirements, and that's what we did. So those Articles 13 and 15, they talk about new structures, and containment, release of hazardous materials, access for emergency response, and so on and so on. So indeed, we have mostly shipyards within the European Union or the OECD, and since 2019 we've been enabled to grant access to shipyards that are outside of the OECD. But as Lisa mentioned, we are about to find a fix for that. So in the matter of months, EU flagship could get recycled in any facilities, including the US, which may or may not be in the OECD countries. So that includes India. At the moment, 27 of the Indian yards have applied for being included in the EU list. And as far as I'm aware, only 6 have been actually inspected, and those inspections were kind of frozen back in 2019. So that's a short summary of the process for certification. Sorry, for becoming an EU facility. The first one for facilities outside of the European Union is to be certified by an independent verifier. Then there needs a formal application that leads to desk assessment by the Commission. And then there are inspections which are carried out. So that was the process which started with Along and other yards. Then eventually, if everything checks, the yard is included in the list. There is a midterm review after about 2.5 years, and then another inspection for the renewal after 5 years. That's the cycle as it's supposed to work. This regulation was adopted in 2013, and now we are in the process of evaluating the ship recycling regulation. And the main points that are being looked at is the circumvention, the fact that flags are changed just before the ship is to be recycled and dismantled, the enforcement system, the combination maintenance and verification of the inventory of hazardous materials, the capacity of the shipyards in Europe and coherence with the EU broader policy objective. I think I'm very happy to speak just after Mr. Kapoor, because I think he did an excellent job at underlining the importance in particular not only of decarbonization, but of circular economy and digitalization. This notion of product passports and traceability of the life cycle of ships. I've never had a chance myself to go to Ireland. I look forward to the opportunity to do so. But these were some of the findings of the evaluations that was carried out in 2019. And indeed, the first 2 points, the adequate facilities for emergencies and serious injuries, I think were already addressed. Apparently, the situation has been even further improved after the evaluations. The question of managing leakage in the intertidal zones. I took notes of the concerns about whether it is feasible or to what extent it is feasible to minimize or avoid the leakages, but that's certainly a point we made on future inspections. The third one was precisely on the downstream waste management and standards. I totally echo what Mr. Capo said about the possibility for EU and India together to develop exemplaries in methodology. We are working very strongly with the Ministry of Environment and many other ministries on circular economy committees, textile, plastics, in electronic waste. I think we will be delighted to look into how it applies to the downstream part of ship recycling. And indeed, not only the recycling for building new ships, but in designing ships in a way to anticipate their easy and efficient recycling. That's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. It's last week I got to the hall has been allotted for a virtual meeting for finance briefing session. But before that, I would like to invite Captain Ashok Srinivasan from Wimco. He has come all the way to Singapore to give his speech.
Thank you, sir. What an honor it is to share the dais with such distinguished panelists here, and also distinguished delegates of the dais. So, very good morning to you. I've been told I have very little time, so I'm really going to run through this very, very quickly. I come from Wimco. You've already heard Wimco at least thrice during this morning session. So I'm not going to talk more about Wimco. Just want to say that we are the largest ship owning organization in the world. We represent about 60% of the world fleet. But that's not what we're going to talk about. I'm just going to talk about a few issues which have already been spoken about. I'm going to talk about 3 issues that are existing there in terms of ship recycling, 3 actions that we can do to have a better tomorrow, and 3 challenges. Now, they're not easy. They're not easy to do it. They take some time, but we're going to have to try and do it anyway. Those other 3 issues, there are some regional instruments, competitive disadvantages, and the responsibilities, as we see, are on the wrong shoulders. On the right-hand side, you can see, and this has already been spoken about, that the EU listed recycling facilities are largely concentrated in the EU and not outside. That is a huge issue there. And on the right-hand side, you can see that when the ship is built, where a ship is owned, where a ship is managed, and where it is recycled, they are all in different parts of the world. And therefore, you need different instruments to deal with. So we need to have some sort of coordination between all of them. Again, you've heard this already. I will not talk about it. That is the difference between the price that a ship owner gets when he has to recycle in Asia and in Europe. So I'll just skip through this one. And like we said, that the responsibility lies on the wrong shoulders. And by that, I mean to say that ship owners are asked to comply with most of the things, whereas we believe that there can be a slightly different allocation. So other parties can also come in and try and take that responsibility a bit more. States and IGOs, I think they are the first ones. They can provide legal certainty, and I'm talking about EUSRR again, and the various regulations there that can align itself with the Hong Kong Convention. Ship owners, and this is something we are telling our members, and we're telling them to choose compliant ship recycling facilities, even if you get a slightly higher price there, because it actually comes into sustainable shipping. And we've actually made a video of it. The link is right at the end of my slide. You can click that QR code and look at that video. We've been telling this to ship owners all over the world. We also tell the recyclers to include their costs, all the costs, not just the cost of steel, but all the costs. It may look slightly higher, but you're then including all the costs in it, including the downstream and the safety of the workers and things like that. And ship owners are willing to pay that extra price. Like I said, we have to keep the competences right. When I say not just ship recycling, but also the downstream activities, safety of workers, and where the waste goes. We have to keep the regulations global, and we believe that this is only the beginning, because there will be more and more regulations coming in terms of looking at green recycling and also sustainability. So this is just the beginning. And this is something we can do. We can ban substandard ship recycling practices worldwide. We can provide sustainable shipping as a global standard. We have to support safe and quality jobs for workers all over the world, and especially the ones that are working in our shipyards. And we, again, have to work together. The national NGOs, the IGOs, also the governments. I humbly request that we all try and work together. So that is my presentation very quickly. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And there is the code, the QR code, which is the Wipco video of ship recycling, so you can copy it.
Ashokji, Wipco being the system comprising 60% of the global ship owners who would like to work together. And now I would like to invite our last speaker, Captain Prashant Vidge, Head of Public Affairs, Captain Numbers, to give us a brief about their green steel policy and the upcoming MOU with Indian government. Please. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Rajkumar Bengalji, Ajit Sukumaranji, my co-panelists on the dais, and ladies and gentlemen. Time is of essence. Here we have a next session, so I'm going to keep it super sharp. Let me just start out by saying that we'll cover three key things here in 3 minutes, right? But we can always have a chat subsequently. We've been working with ship recycling for the last decade, and specifically we'll talk about the impact that we've achieved. We will also touch upon the regulatory environment and the aspect and the position of Maersk in that context, and then of course the opportunities that we believe are there going forward. Next please. I probably will not get too deep into this, but what's most important is, for Maersk, we have a purpose which is improving life for all by integrating the world. And what that means is, as one of the largest global ship owners, we also build ships responsibly, we dock them every 5 years responsibly, and then we de facto have a responsibility to recycle them in the right way. We are, as we go forward into the next slide, have had a standard and a policy. Can we go next please? When we look at our program, it's independent of geography, and we've been recycling ships in India, but also in China and Turkey in the past. In India, in the past 8 years, we've recycled and undertaken 19 projects. And our standard goes way beyond the Hong Kong Convention. We have aspects that cover anti-corruption, subcontractors, and labor and human rights. And we also make sure that there are no blocks that come in contact with the intertidal zone, and the downstream waste, and tracking and tracing it all the way into the downstream waste management facility. How do we do that? We make sure that our men are on the ground, they have authority to stop work through robust contracts, and we have collaborated in a long-term strategic partnership with the yards over the last decade, especially in along capacity and capability building, skilling and equipment upgrading, and also of course have had the privilege to work with a lot of stakeholders here on the dais, but also in the room, to be able to elevate this. Next please. Yeah, right, time is running out, but just one last thing from my side is, we've managed to do this with no lost time injuries, no environment impact. We've built through the initiatives with yards directly, and we've heard some great work by Gujarat Maritime Board as well about capacity building, but through our initiative and through our requirement, we've built close to 1,500 ILO compliant dormitories. We do not stop at the yards, we go in the hinterland. We have, through our CSR work, been collaborating with the Indian Red Cross, running a mobile health unit, you see there on the picture, close to 100,000 OPD services. We've trained with Bhavnagar Blood Bank more than 5,000 workers. This is truly in line with our purpose, which is improving life for all. Last slide, please. Please skip this. Next one, please. What is most important for me here to point out is, we want to be a trusted advisor to the government of India. With the Hong Kong Convention coming into force, we've heard about the waterfall of ship recycling. Global volumes will double and quadruple in the next decade. We think that there's a huge opportunity for India. It's advantage India. We have a 7,500 kilometer stretch. We have 10 kilometers of along. At the moment, we've heard some great leadership here with Gujarat Maritime Board talking about another 10 kilometer stretch. And there are other maritime boards together with DT Shipping who could actually look at how could we do ship recycling in a way that's sustainable, long-term, and connected to circular economy, which is also what brings me to my last slide, please. We've seen this. We are a ship owner, and next time around we'll probably speak a little bit earlier to do justice, but what's most important is that when you look at the ecosystem and the value chain here, we are doing what we are supposed to. As Maersk, shipyards are doing a lot of efforts. We heard that from the good offices here. We are connecting with steel producers, making sure that green steel comes back in the ecosystem. And then eventually there are a lot of automotive as well as renewable players that are yearning for green steel. We are the first in shipping who actually have subscribed to the Climate Group Steel Zero initiative and de facto are ensuring that ship, which, and as Gopinandaji said, that steel goes back into the value chain in a way that's long-term and sustainable. And as Maersk, we are committed to do this and work very closely with the government and the maritime boards. Thank you very much.
Standing, with the permission of co-convener Shri Rajkumar Benyalji, we need to allot this hall for the VC session. So we may skip the photographs and mementos to the vote of thanks, please. Thank you. Please.
Thank you everyone. The session is closed. Thank you.
ऐसा थोड़ी होता है एक सेशन